what I really wanted to do was go over some of the ways in which we can ensure, because cold and flu season is upon us. And, cold and flu season should be renamed immune dysfunction season, because that's all that's happening. And I know when my daughter had what I would consider a case of COVID, because all of us had it, and they were weak and stuffy, and she didn't know how to blow her nose. She was running a high fever. I know that was I mean, I had all this equipment to deal with it, but even me, that was a point of tension. I was waking up in the night, just making sure her nose isn't stopped up, snot isn't dropping down the esophagus, making her get any asthma. I was waking up like 2 and 3 times a night just to check, because I had the experience multiple times of having congestion, which led to shortness of breath, which then I would have to cough up a bunch of mucus. But she doesn't know how to do that. So I wanted to make sure it could be stopped before we got to that point. But all this to say, I want to talk about ways specifically that we should all be going about making sure that we can boost our immune systems so that we don't fall into the category of our body having to create a whole bunch of white blood cells and expel a bunch of mucus, and we lose productivity, we have very low willpower, so we get irritated by every little thing that happens that is, that 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 irritates us, people driving, people telling you stuff, someone at the job that's, dumping their emotional garbage on you without consideration. This winter season, I want to make sure that each and every one of you can be in a better position. So I wanted to go over some of these things, and I had notes, but I can't find them. So I'll go off at the top, and we'll do it in class form, even though it'll be 15 minutes. Now, when we're talking about health, and we'll go off of the pillars. What is the most important thing that we do that if we didn't do, we would die in 4 minutes? Class is in session now, so I would love if you guys, chime in for some answers. What's the
Breathe.
most exactamundo? So when we're talking,
Breathing.
yes, when we talk about breathing, there's an element about breathing that we overlook that is just as important as being able to take that deep breath, and it's the quality of air that you're breathing in. This winter, whenever we're in winter, I don't know if you guys have, if you guys have ever tried to take a jog outside in winter and you're breathing through your mouth, and then after about a minute or two, you feel like you're going to die because your lungs are constricted, right? Because they're dehydrated. The winter has a way of drawing water out of us because cold draws energy out versus heat that pushes it in. In your home, if you can't, the ways that you increase the air quality, we all know that there's certain plants that you can buy to put in your home. But the biggest, most effective hack that you can do is to get essential oil diffusers. Get two essential oil diffusers in a room, run those essential oil diffusers, put specifically the oils, tea tree, eucalyptus, and lavender. Why? The tea tree is a disinfectant. The eucalyptus cools, and the eucalyptus targets the lungs, and it's a little cooling. Even though you're not going to put a little bit, you're not going to put a lot of it because it's already cold. You just want the scent and let it be subtle. And then the lavender will relax the nerves. Of course, there are a lot of different herbs that can fit into these categories, but those are just easy to get and they smell relatively good. If you prefer peppermint over eucalyptus, cool. It's Christmas time, right? And we all used to eat those Christmas candies, those candy canes, those peppermint candy canes. So peppermint has an extra element of dopamine and euphoria, right? So if you want to use peppermint, that's fine too. But make sure that when you go to sleep, you can run these in the air so that with every breath that you take when you sleep, those essential oils are becoming a direct part of your bloodstream, because every breath that you take in, the oxygen has to diffuse into the red blood cell. And when that oxygen comes with that aroma, because you're breathing it in, it's direct. It is directly to your bloodstream. That's one of the most important things you could do. Now, if you have children that have been getting sick frequently, then you absolutely need to have sessions where you all of you guys stay in this one room and you run 2 to 3 essential oil diffusers with those things, and you stay in there, you let them play. You stay in that one room, which preferably is a little smaller, so that all that air and that essential deliciousness can be concentrated, and you let them jump on a trampoline, play with their toys, run around with them. You play in the room, get them breathing and moving the lymph as much as possible in that room, right? Trampolines are always the way you want to go because that moves the lymph, or the bouncy balls if you can do the bouncy balls. Outside of that, if it's really bad, then you do what they do for children like myself who had asthma: buy a nebulizer. For those of you who don't know what a nebulizer is, it's basically this: they turn the water that you put into the container into a mist and you breathe it in. It's a mask that you wear or something that you put in your mouth. You would let your child get on treatments of nebulizer treatments where you put a little bit of peppermint, a little bit of tea tree, or a little bit of eucalyptus, or a little bit of rosemary. These are all very, very good herbs to do that. Just make sure that you dilute it, because if you try to put concentrated oils inside the little plastic container, it will crack the oil, right? Especially when you're thinking about using oregano oil. That has to be extremely diluted in order for it to not eat the plastic out. The same thing with shilling oil. If you guys have ever heard about shilling oil or Canadian healing oil, these oils are very, very potent. You can breathe them in, but you have to dilute them. Otherwise, they'll crack the plastic and you'll be frustrated with your nebulizer. But have that child go 3 days a week where they do a treatment of at least 15 minutes, just breathing in these essential oils. That way it can boost the immune system.
Is
What's
there a
the,
specific brand, I'm sorry,
no, no, no,
that
you're good.
you recommend for those?
Um, Not necessarily. Most of the ones from Amazon, Amazon has a really good quality. I would just recommend not to get them from Temu. Because no, 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 I'm serious. I ordered some tea tree and rosemary from Temu, and I was like, what is this garbage? It was the most diluted oil I've ever tried in my whole life. So go to the ones from Amazon. Go to the one from Amazon, because like a tea tree, if you put a tea tree raw on your skin, it should burn.
Right.
Not to be diluted. Same thing with oregano oil. But I put the tea tree directly on my skin, on my hands, and I was like, yo, this is not tea tree. This is, it's tea tree and canola oil or something. What is this? So um there's not a particular brand. Essential oils
Okay.
to me are relatively the same. You could do our acacia, but there are better ones on Amazon. If anything, just post the one. If you're thinking about getting it and you're not sure, post it in the group and I'll chime in on it. You
Okay,
know,
thank you. Mhm.
I've tried quite a few, and I'm always experimenting to see, which one I like more, which one my body responds to better, right? So, now, outside of that, you want to make soups. And specifically, you want to make soups using garlic, using onions, using cilantro, going to the farmer's market and yet letting the yellow dock cook in there, letting the turmeric cook in there, using the portobello and the oyster mushrooms. You want to take as much antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal things and put it in there. Rosemary, and sage and thyme and oregano. All of these herbs are king. They were nature's medicine before we had antibiotics. So you want to make sure that you're getting those things in at least twice a week. A nice, hot, savory, delicious, scrumptious soup. When you want to thicken it, then guess what you do? You put pumpkin, or what they call acorn squash, right? You put the acorn squash in there, and now it has that, and blend it up to get it thick. You want it to be even more savory than that, you put coconut milk and curry powder. But it's very hard for you to go wrong making a yummy, delicious soup like that. If you want to put cruciferous vegetables, even better, because they have sulfur-based compounds in there, and the sulfur-based compounds help activate what's called the NRF2 path. It helps activate your body's natural immune defenses that are the thing that you want so that you don't get to the stage where you have mucus. It kicks that up. so that you don't get to the stage where your body creates a whole bunch of mucus. It'll knock it out quick. All right.
Yes. What was it called? What was that?
Cruciferous vegetables. So you have your mustard greens, you have your broccoli. Broccoli is probably the best ones you want to rock with. Right? Broccoli is just solid, especially when you put it in soups. We all know how delicious that could be. I mean, I hope we all do. If not, then I hope you find out this winter because it's the sugar honey iced tea for real, for real. Broccoli soups, especially if you have like an orange pumpkin soup, and then you put purple cabbage, which is also another cruciferous one. So when you have orange, then you have the green from the broccoli, then you have the purple of the cabbage. It's just like, oh, right? Garnished with a little green onions. It's fantastic. So, what are the other things? Outside of that, especially for children, you need to make sure that they're getting a high amount of there's gummies and stuff that you can take. There are gummies that you can that have the vitamin D, the vitamin C, the zinc, and maybe the elderberry. My children's elixir is very good too, but you want to keep them juiced. You want them to at least have the elixir and the gummies. The gummies, there's one brand in my head. I haven't posted it because this is something new. This is a new topic. I'll post it in the group. But the children's elixir and the gummies at a minimum. Then, on top of that, if there is any hint of anything going on, you need to have colloidal silver on deck for yourself and them. Especially you have little children that's always going to school and they're coming back with all their germs and viruses and bacteria and spreading havoc around the house. When they come from school, you spray them in their mouth with colloidal silver, on their face, on their hands. Why? Silver ions kill all virus and bacteria immediately. Immediately. Matter of fact, it's the silver ions in most of these compounds that exist that are antiviral, antifungal, all that good jazz. The silver ions. All minerals have all herbs are mineral based. And those mineral bases have different combinations. They take the minerals of the ground, take it up through the plant root tips, and the genes of the plant takes that natural ormus minerals that the plant root tips normally take in, and it makes it into the genetic blueprint of what the plant has. So a lot of these things that we're dealing with, it's small silver ion particles. But you can get that in concentrated form because it's wonderfully 2024 and we have so much innovation. So you can get colloidal silver, right? Now there's a few different brands of that. Don't ever try to think you need it more concentrated. Just get the regular 20 to 60 ppm. That's parts per million. You don't need 500 parts per million. It doesn't have to be that concentrated, but you do need to use it consistently when you start to see any type of symptoms or signs of sickness coming, and you use it consistently. That's why you should put it in a spray bottle and just inside the child's mouth every 2 hours. Come here, tickle, tickle, right? So that they laugh, release some dopamine, and you hit them with a little colloidal silver at the same time. So they associate that with the laughter and they enjoy it. So they look forward to it, even if it doesn't have a taste either. Right? You could also put a drop of oregano inside there or a drop of tea tree in. But if you do that, you can't really spray it on their face because then that will burn their eyes, right? So you'd have to keep that isolated to the mouth and really inside the mouth, not on the lip or not on the lip because that could burn them too. Their skin is very sensitive. Now, what are the other things that we can do? The biggest, I mean, this hack is more for an adult because a child might be a little too curious and burn themselves. But the infrared light is the number one way to create heat in the body and nurture the body with light. And that, when you get a cold, if you start to feel any type of sickness, you put yourself under that infrared light and let that thing heat your body up, heat that area up. Remember, your body automatically raises its temperature in response to foreign viruses and bacteria, which is why we get fevers when we get sick, right? So that instead of waiting for the body to get a fever, we can naturally raise our own body temperature because in the presence of a raised temperature, foreign viruses die. That's why during the day when you have a cold, it's not bad, but when the nighttime comes, it gets crazy. All right, everyone's experienced that before. Like they come back with a vengeance because in the presence of heat and light, they cannot thrive, but in cold and dark, they do thrive, which is part of the reason why cold and flu season is always in the cold season, in the cold months, right? Um, and that's about it off the top of my head. Now, there are other little things that an adult can do, but I wanted to focus on the children, right? There are infrared mats that you can get, there are infrared saunas that you can do, there's microcurrent therapy that you can do. Um, I believe I released the autism therapy protocol, and that just goes over all the potential therapies. But there's a lot of things that you can do to keep your immune system upregulated. And at the top of the list that I didn't mention because it's kind of hard, it's really learning how to disconnect from all these negative things that weigh you down. Completely disconnecting. I don't care what the heck you have to go through on a day-to-day basis. When you are getting ready to hit that bed, I want you to develop the attitude that nothing else friggin' matters. Nothing matters. I am alive. I am here. I have the opportunity to create a different, I have the opportunity to change and transform my life by changing the way I think and I feel. And this bed is my transformation chamber. This is my place of peace. Don't go into your bed with trauma and drama and negativity. By all means, don't even touch your bed. Pray, take a cold shower, take a bath, pattern interrupt yourself, put your hand under piping hot water. You're saying, what the hell does that do? That allows you to feel a certain degree of pain. And it can help move you from a negative emotion that you feel. Similar to how, I don't know if you guys have ever done this personally. I know I did when I was young and my father left and I was a very angry child. I used to be very angry and it used to hurt my heart. And sometimes I would punch the door. Actually, my door had holes in it. And I would punch the door and my knuckles would get bloody. But in punching the door and feeling the pain in my hand, I noticed that I didn't feel the pain in my heart as much. That's where children get to cutting themselves and doing all, body debilitating things because the pain that they feel takes them away from the emotional pain. The physical pain will move them from feeling the emotional pain. So the physical pain becomes a relief from the emotional turmoil. So in that same way, instead of cutting yourself, you could just a little hot water, oh, now you feel that pain, and now you can disassociate yourself from feeling the negativity that was currently running you ragged. All right, so those are just some of the things that I wanted to mention because you know, there was a member that had something going on with their children, and I really wanted to make sure that they got some clarity. So I hope that helps. Let's see. All right.